Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, D stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have an oldie but a goodie. Maybe. We'll find out. Fallout 3 number stations. So, yeah, we're doing Fallout 3 number stations, which I had heard of before, but it wasn't until I've been diving back into Fallout 4 and like the Fallout universe of late. And of course, that also means that I'm also hopping onto YouTube and looking up lore stuff because I like all the creepy shit that's in the Fallout universe, and I want to learn about it. And I found a video that was like talking about the old Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas like creepypastas. I vaguely remembered there was like a number station or a radio station Fallout 3 like spooky story from like way back when Fallout 3 came out. And then I got to the extent of it, like, oh, why have we not covered this yet? So, yeah, we're covering an old creepypasta based off an old video, or based off a video game series. So the Fallout 3 number stations creepypasta, we don't actually know who originally created it or authored it. But it came out sometime in 2009, and then on creepypasta.wiki, which is where you can actually check it out, among other places, it was posted in 2010 by a Paninis Cupcake. So I'm not sure if they are the original author.
Visualize that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they're the original author of the story. As this story, they may have just been the archivist, because this story does actually fall under the category historical archive for the wiki. So it's usually that's usually the place where like OG creepypastas exist. Like, again, we got like Polybius or like Candle Cove or Slenderman, or like the original Slenderman stories, or like the original Jeff the Killer story would be like covered under a historical archive kind of stuff. So the author is currently unknown. The actual author of the story is currently unknown, but it was posted on creepypasta.wiki by this Paninis Cupcake. You can also check it out if you're not on the wiki. You can actually check it out on the Fallout Myths wiki, which has an article about it. I guess we will dive into our initial recommendations and then the rundown. So, initial recommendations. I am going to recommend it.
I am going to not recommend it.
Okay.
I'm going to not recommend it.
Interesting. I'm gonna see how this goes.
You can sway us.
Or
your move, sir.
All right. Well, let's dive into the rundown. So the story goes that if you do a certain set of things in Fallout 3, like kill the radio DJ from Galaxy News Radio, 3 Dog, your Pip-Boy starts picking up a number station in its place. And as certain members of the gaming community kept digging into it, it appears that the broadcast gives off a series of dates and messages. The messages being in Morse code, the dates being in a series of numbers, like just standalone numbers, kind of like how a number station actually works. And then usually followed with the music, the song "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire." Now, the Morse code messages and the dates kind of correlated or like seemed to predict certain events that would happen. Stuff like the Queen would die, when Britney would win an Oscar, and some mysterious disaster that science has wrought. And that last one there is also the last of the dated messages that we get in the roster in 2027. And that's basically the gist of the story. It's apparently you could even like go beyond the immediate area of the Capital Wasteland, where you can get like the Galaxy News Radio unboosted. And as long as you went like high up in like altitude, like in the game, like if you go into like high locations and stuff, you might be able to pick up this number station farther away from the.
Okay.
Was that one of you guys that just talked?
Yeah, you got something wrong.
What?
The hell? I
Uh,
I
in
played a
the
video muted while just to look at it while you're talking,
Okay.
and apparently that's coming through.
I just got like there was like another voice is like, okay, and I was like, that's not one of you.
Can you hear this? Like, is there words coming through?
No,
um,
it might
there-
have been Mike or Miles.
yeah, you said that last message was 2027, and
Was
that's
it not?
incorrect.
Shit, was it not?
It says this is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers.
Oh, okay. I
And-
think I was confused by his thing.
Because the last message says that it's worth noting that the latest date on these messages is 2027, but we don't get the message that is 2027.
Hence my confusion, because it's like it talks about the thing that's going on and then immediately goes into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. So like, yeah, they get this like this like weird like thing that happens that like science is wrought, but we don't get a date to that one. However, and then like it does like the last date we do get, which is, but we don't get the message for. Hence my confusion. I'm keeping all this in. Fuck it. Is 2027. And yeah, if you go like even to like the some of the separate DLC maps, if you go to like a high enough location, like in Point Lookout, if you go up to the top of the Ferris wheel, you can supposedly pick up this radio station. And that's about the gist of this thing. It's basically sort of a combination of like a ritual pasta. Like if you do these things, you can get this thing. With a bit of a conspiracy theory kind of, or like kind of dug in mystery kind of plot line to it. So that's the basic gist of it. I suppose then we will move on to Everyone Tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, guys, do you have any?
I have a nit story.
All right. Save us from not having grammar inquisition. And now, an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It appears that you must kill 3 Dog because no one has reported hearing the number station with him still alive. It also appears that you have to skip over the quest Galaxy News Radio, where you help boost the signal so that the station can broadcast further than just the immediate GC area. It may be worth noting that the latest date on any of the messages is 1/27, July 6th, 2027. Fit.
Wow. That was succinct.
Short and to almost no point, because it didn't really say much. Because
I was gonna say it's like the first two were like, oh hey, he's just gonna, basically it's just gonna be like like a proper rundown, because like it's just taking bits and pieces from the story, but then just only had 3 sentences. So
which is a good sign, because the reason that Mikey takes these strings of sentences and puts them together into a story is to highlight all the sentences in the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words.
indeed. Okay, so I guess Gamer, do you have anything for your grammar inquisition?
I have one.
Okay.
I can't believe they're actually done it. So that should be they've actually done it, especially since when
This
it
is
shows
a
up
trend.
again,
Yeah.
when it shows up the second time, it's corrected. Because this line is mentioned again, because this is one of the things that's quoted from the actual number station.
Yep.
So yeah, that's...
When you started, I was like, but it's the way the character wrote, or it's the way the character. It's a transcript of dialogue, and then it's like, no, because it's a repeated sentence, so it's not right.
Yeah.
It's officially not right.
Mhm.
Yep. Fair enough. All right. That's it.
Yes.
Okay. Then I suppose we move on to actual thoughts. So I'm going to start with this one here. What most players do not know is that under certain circumstances, GNR will become a number station. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life, and some hypothesize that they are a nuclear retaliation control network. Simply check Wikipedia. for more information about these odd broadcasts as they relate to the real world. And I was like, so I read that part. I was like, hell yeah, number stations, my favorite cool and creepy little phenomena in the real world. I actually do, and like I knew about number stations before this story. They are kind of interesting in that no one really knows the full extent of the reason why they exist, but they're just these like coded messages with like creepy like calliope music or like grainy like antiquated music playing, and then like a woman or even like a man or sometimes children will like say a string of numbers, and it will follow by like a dial, like a certain, sometimes it'll even be a Morse code beeping sound, and then followed by more just strange music playing, and it just goes on like on repeat over and over again, and no one really knows like where they go, where they came from, like what was the purpose. There's like this one hypothesis like, oh, that they're a nuclear retaliation control network. Some people think it's a spy network, or it's like a code of messages from like World War II or even the Cold War, like as a spy network. Some people think it's like a ghost in the machine, aliens, some kind of just a broken signal lost in the airwaves. There's an entire organization out there devoted to searching for them, cataloging them, and studying them to see what their origins are. It's called the Number Stations Research and Information Center. And there's like the other interesting thing is like they're shortwave radio broadcasts, but no one like we've not been able to find, as far as I'm aware, we've been unable to find the physical location of where they're being broadcast from, for the most part. Like I think we found like a couple, but like not enough of the locations to like merit what we've been hearing over the radio waves. So yeah, again, it's a really cool phenomenon that actually exists in the real world that like people are looking into. It's one of those like bizarre little like, it's kind of mundane because it's like it could. I don't think it's anything like other than just like it's some kind of a weird network. But like, what does it mean? It's like kind of falls into that like conspiracy theory sort of situation more than like aliens or ghosts. It's more just like, what were these, like why are people doing this? That's more of where I stand in when it comes to number stations. Like these are clearly some group or some individuals are doing this or broadcasting these messages out there, and why. And that aside, like the fact that like Fallout 3 and like the Fallout games, like especially since Fallout 3, do kind of heavily rely on like using a radio station, or like you like tapping into radio signals for in the game for like music, and also for like broadcasts and stuff like that, and even for like finding things for quests and stuff. I'm surprised honestly that there aren't more like weird creepy radio broadcasts in the Fallout games of that. Like I'm surprised there's not an official number station in the Fallout games. There are creepy.
I'm getting ready to go to do that.
Yeah, and like there are certain broadcasts that you can pick up that are creepy, like military coded broadcasts, but they're nothing like quite like a number station specifically. Because like number stations, they all kind of have like a kind of a vibe where it's like a anachronistic music, or like an antiquated piece of like music, like a like calliope music, or like some kind of like creepily cheerful type of tone.
So they do also play music?
Yeah. They'll broadcast like some music as almost like an intermission thing between the messages, and then it will like just sometimes it'll just like abruptly stop the music and cut to 1 6 5 0 4 3, and then it cuts into the music again. Like you can go, if you go to the Wikipedia page, they have samples of actual like of recorded number stations. And again, like there are like locations, if you go into certain, especially in Fallout 4, you can find like some antenna arrays by like from old military bases, and you can actually like get broadcast to like follow and find like where like who is broadcasting, because like they have like ham radios everywhere, and you'll get like you'll get personalized messages, like there was one specifically that's really unsettling in Fallout 4, where it's a woman probably at the beginning of the war, crying out for help through the radio waves, like that her and her son are trapped inside of a train car, and there's these horrible like things that are coming after her, and she doesn't know what they are. And it's what it is basically she was being hunted by feral ghouls in the game, and you can trace the signal. Like you can get closer and closer to the signal. Like the strong, it gets a stronger, more clear broadcast the closer you get to it. And then you get to it, and it's just been on repeat for 200 years, and you find her skeleton right next to the ham radio station. Or like, there's like one where like some people are like locked inside of like an emergency bunker kind of thing, and you can find the emergency bunker, and you get down there, and there's a bunch of skeletons because they died of starvation and dehydration. So there's that kind of stuff in the games already, but I'm surprised there's not like an actual like mysterious coded messages, like especially since the game's all about like the Great War that happened was like all about like the covert operations between the Chinese and the United States government. So like I'm surprised there's not like some creepy like Chinese government like broadcasts that you can find occasionally over the radio waves, especially since there's several locations in the game where you can find like the remnants of Chinese infiltrators on American soil. You think they would have had some kind of weird broadcast system there. But yeah, and that's Fallout 4. Like Fallout 3 also had stuff like that, but like I'm surprised it didn't have an actual like official like associated number station. Somebody had to make a creepypasta about it.
Because it would be so easy to do too. You just get like 2 songs that may or may not also be on other stations, and then just say some gibberish.
Yeah, like
actually code it into something that you want if you want, but you could also just make it nothing.
I have a mod on
try to assume what it is.
Exactly. I have a mod on my Fallout 4 playthrough right now that is just a number station, and it's like it plays like I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire or like some other like older like 1950s music, and then it like warps and cuts off into static. I've noticed some of the static effects are like kind of like the kind of static noises that were used in like Slenderman games back in like the mid 2000s. But also like it'll actually start playing like actual like number station like codes, like 5-4 like goes on, and then like some tones that will like some beeping like code and some of that, and then it'll cut to like even like a broadcast of some guy from like an actual like old radio station like thing that like from like coast to coast, where like the guy's been on the run, and he's like calling into this radio station to like say that like the lizard people are out there to get me, like they're hiding among us, like they're in like major seats of power, and it's unnerving, and I love it. Like I like putting on that mod and like playing through like Fallout the Fallout games made me realize I'm actually apparently a fan of signal wave, which is like a genre of music now that stems from vaporwave, which is like basically they capture like transmissions, and it's I think it's also called like broken transmission genre, where basically artists will like take transmissions of radio broadcasts and other things from like other like older times, and they will like remix them into these creepy, semi-discordant, but also they've got a bit of a there's some kind of a melody to it, but it's also like just radio broadcasts or like tones from news networks and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like it's got a creepy like eerie vibe to it. The one artist I've kind of jumped on with for like listening to their stuff is CT57 is the artist, and he's Toronto based too.
That makes it even better.
Yeah, one of the ones that he does is called Local Network is one album, and then the other album is like Midnight Gas, and it's basically he captured like audio and like soundscapes from like a gas station, and like combine them into these weird like kind of creepy discordant like music that's just using sound effects from like a gas station.
Weird.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And he does stuff with like news broadcasts, like, you know, like we've all like the three of us have probably listened to like the Weather Channel, like, you know, that just has like that like kind of from the 90s that had that like that blue screen with like the like what the weather is going to be like for the next couple of hours or even like days, and it would have like like kind of like a creepy like elevator music, or like kind of not creepy, but like we would consider it now maybe a little like weird, like just kind of like mellow or chill or lo-fi kind of music that they put into like just like, and they just broadcast on that channel like 24/7. So anyway, yeah, that's I going back to this story, getting back to my actual thought here. Again, I love number stations, and I was surprised that there's not more number station stuff in the Fallout games, and that we had to have a creepypasta that was written to insert one, like a fan number station into it,
and mods.
Yeah, and mods, yeah.
Mm.
God
bless the modding.
Yes. Oh man, like 100%. Hours of gameplay, additional gameplay. But I digress. I will move on to my next thing here. So we get this. This is the one thing that actually kind of bugged me about the story. If you're lucky enough to have hit upon the right set of circumstances just after destroying Raven Rock, you will get a message, radio signal lost, and a few seconds later, radio signal found. You cannot, however, actually listen to GNR just yet, because you didn't boost the signal and are out of range of the broadcast at the exit of Raven Rock. Luckily, Raven Rock is situated in the mountains and is right near one of the few places outside of DC that you can get high enough to catch the signal. So this right here, and like the other parts where it's mentioning like you have to be like really high up in the game in other locations to like access this radio signal, to me it doesn't exactly make sense from a gaming point of view or from a game design point of view. Like, granted, I don't have a full knowledge of like how the game design and programming specifically in this Bethesda game works. But I doubt that Bethesda would have programmed the game's radio stations and stuff to actually simulate real world radio signals and how you can pick them up in the world by like getting to like higher altitudes and such. More likely, the radio file, like the audio files for the radio stations and stuff, have a static like area of effect or range, like a bubble. That once you leave the threshold of that bubble, you can no longer like access the audio files from your pinpoint.
It may be a little bit more complicated than that. It might be like a dual bubble situation where there's the spherical bubble at the bottom, but then there's also a wide, thin, like quote unquote hat on top of it that spans out wider. So if you have enough height, you're in the high bubble.
Yeah, true. Like that's fair. And if that's the case, that's really interesting, because like then that is kind of like it's kind of simulating how like radio signals work in real life. Like if you get higher, you can get better reception because you can you're getting past all the obstacles that the radio signal has to bounce off of.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you load up Fallout 3 and climb on top of that mountain to see if you can?
No, I didn't.
How dare you?
I should have like it's on Game Pass right now. I could have installed it.
You would have had to install it and start a new game and get to that point before the actual recording.
Yeah, I'd have to like
because you have to not boost the signal, right? So you'd have
because there's a quest line that you can boost it, so it's not just like the immediate area of like the city of the capital wasteland. It also seems odd to me that they do that, especially for even the DLC, because like the DLC map is a completely different location that you load into than the map of the capital wasteland. Like it's a ported like area. You have to like travel to like a different location. I guess like they also do have like you can tap into radio signals in dungeons in the game. Like when you go down to the subway system, you effectively teleport to another level, which they've allowed to have like that radio signal play through because you're in that area. Maybe I'm grossly underestimating like how the radio program is simulated in Fallout 4 or specifically Fallout 3 for this. But I just felt like it's like in 2010 or like 2008 when the game came out, I don't know if they would have the programming to actually simulate a like a radio signal. Maybe it is, and maybe you're even right. Maybe it's just the way I'm picturing it. It's not even a bubble. It's just like a cylinder of like an area of effect, and then like maybe higher up there is a larger there's a wider cylinder that just doesn't touch the ground to try and simulate that. Like if you get to a higher enough location, you can trigger the radio signal again.
Like it's probably easier than what you think.
Yeah. And if anybody out there listening to us is knowledgeable in like modding and like the game program and like or even knows like more about the gaming program and stuff of that, I'd be very curious to know like is that a thing? Like that's how does the radio in Fallout 3 specifically work?
I would think it'd be more complicated to program the VAT system than to program the radio.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what that's what I was thinking is like it's. I don't know if they'd actually like go through the trouble of having it's like even having that higher level like cylinder. What more likely they just do like a cylinder that goes from like the ground to the sky, and then just like it at a certain range. Like once you leave that cylinder, or like the circumference of that cylinder, you stop triggering
This isn't Atari. This isn't Super
Nintendo.
You know, like
yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm also basing some of my knowledge on this is like from like how triggers worked in like Halo 3, because like I remember watching some behind the scenes stuff for that game and like how they would activate or trigger like events in the game by like there would be like invisible walls that you would pass through, and it would trigger like creatures to get spawned in and start fighting and or programmed to do stuff.
Yeah, long and short, because of how much importance there is of the radio and the Pip-Boy in Fallout 3, I would not be surprised if they put a little bit of extra effort to program in the height thing. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm just like mildly skeptical about that, but I'll concede. So moving on to the next thing of the story, which is the specific predictions that we get. So the Queen has died today. The world mourns. As on days like these, we are all Brits. 4/2, March 19th, 2014. I was like, oof, just 8 years, maybe 9 years off. I think she died in September 2022. Not 2014, but close. And you see, like when it was mentioned earlier, like because the Queen dying and like some of the other ones were mentioned earlier, we didn't get the timestamp. We just got like what kind of like things they mentioned. Like it's not dated or anything like that. But yeah, this one really like I kind of like I was almost willing to give it a pass because like okay, they just mentioned like the Queen died, like that was one of the messages. Like because they were being vague initially, I was like, okay, you know that's something that could have happened. Like that something that could have been predicted. Maybe they just don't know what the exact date was.
But look,
I know.
Here's the thing. I double checked a little bit by going into that Fallout wiki that you mentioned.
Yeah.
In that like copy of this story, basically, it says that some of the predictions came true, like the Queen died, although the date isn't right. You could say anyone is going to die at some time, and it's true. They're going to die.
Yeah.
Just because they actually die and they're not an immortal doesn't mean that your prediction came true.
Fair. And I mean, to be fair, like
came up tomorrow.
Queen
the
really
sun will come up tomorrow. I am a prophet.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, and like this shit happens in real life too. Like somebody, like there's a evangelist who was like saying the rapture was going to happen in 2010 or something like that, and then it didn't. And then he like, oh, I've redone my calculations. It's actually going to happen in 2012, and it didn't happen again.
No, it did happen. Macho Man Randy Savage fought back the rapture and saved us all. Remember?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
And then became a dragon in Skyrim.
Yep. That's how he did
it. Sky's the limit. But yeah, so yeah, again, like I originally I was gonna give it a pass. Like when I first read like, oh, the Queen has died today, like thing in the story, I was like, okay, it's being vague enough. It's like it's not actually giving us a date, so like, all right, that's kind of and then it gives us a date. It's like, didn't quite turn out that way. She held on a little longer than predicted. Like, and I even checked to see if maybe she died at the same time of day as the story, but no. Like, because 0402 or 42 it equates to like 402 a.m. So in military
Almost like
time,
it's hard to predict the future when you're writing.
I know, yeah. And again, like this story was written like in 2009 or maybe 2010 is when it came out initially. So like that was like 4 or 5 years like for predictions and stuff like that. And then we get this one here. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the nuts. 24/16, December 24th, 2012. To this one, I'm like, I didn't actually. I should have done some more like homework for the story. I was like, I'm curious if somebody actually. Well, and it may have been taken down by them, but I was curious as like if somebody actually posted a video seemingly showing someone kicking some bums in the nuts, and like posting it at the right time, like for this creepypasta.
Oh.
Like either somebody behind the creepypasta or just somebody who was like intrigued by the story and was like, I'm gonna fake that for the story.
The problem is that the time doesn't exist, so it can't be posted at the same time.
Also, the real problem is that bums don't have nuts. Like my bum doesn't have a nut. Does yours?
Every day I hate you more and more, Gamer in Yellow.
Good. It's working.
Yeah,
Soon
because
you will unlock.
Wait, 24/16, is that actually not a
that's beginning the 25th hour. So
wait, what?
it would be 0016 or just 16.
Wow.
Oh, so you found a grammar issue.
Yeah, there's a grammar issue right there. That is that in the original one? Pulling up that caption of it. See if it's also in there. Yeah. 24/16.
Yep. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. 16 minutes into the 25th hour of the day.
This is the, you know what this is? This is like the so in D&D Eberron setting, there is a missing 13th hour of the day or a missing 13th day 13th month of the year. So it's a similar situation. There's a missing 25th hour in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not aware of. That this creepypasta cracked the code.
The 25th hour always happens, although to all of us, it just goes by in an instant. But to those that have like the awakened eye or whatever, they can actually experience that entire hour of extra time.
Yeah, and like everything around for everybody,
then they
it's
become
not
the
affected.
Flash.
Yeah, it's like the flash. Well, I was gonna say it's like when somebody enters the 25th hour that is unaffected by like the instantaneous part, everything around them stands still except for like a few things that like are also unaffected.
Guess what I watched last night?
Time hoppers. Time jumpers.
The X-Men movie with Quicksilver, where he runs around beating the shit out of people in that room.
Oh,
and everyone's frozen still.
Yeah, because he's going so fast.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was also referencing there's like a movie called like Time Hoppers, I think.
I think you're thinking of Time Cops.
No, it's not Time Cops. Like, no, I refuse.
Say no to a jingle. Who are you? Misdemeanor.
God damn it. Cops.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, moving on from this one as well. I can't believe Britney actually won an Oscar. 21:33, February 27th, 2023. Oh man, I wonder if Britney is actually going to win an Oscar. Guess we'll have to find out. Future me. Nope. Because since this is getting recorded before the date, but gets posted
very soon
after,
before, so
but it's going to be getting
this now.
Yeah. So,
well,
yes, Mikey.
There's already a problem. Like the Oscars don't aren't done until March this year.
So the answer is probably going to be no, huh? Future me. Yep. Also, for Britney to win an Oscar, she'd have to be in some kind of a movie recently. Because, assuming this is Britney Spears, songwriters usually win Grammys, not Oscars.
Yeah.
Also, I assumed, like, much like how, like, the Queen, like, it's Queen Elizabeth, and since it's talking about Brits, I'm assuming that Britney was, like, it's probably referencing Britney Spears.
I mean, Oscar doesn't necessarily mean an Oscar. It could mean like there's some obscure car called an Oscar that some lady named Brittany's gonna win.
All right, so on February 27th, of this year, we will have to like scour the news websites for like did a Britney win an Oscar?
There's a
Maybe it's
Danish
like
automobile called an OS car, Oscar.
nice. Or maybe a woman named Brittany won a year's supply of Oscar Mayer wieners.
Yeah. See, it's vague enough that it could happen.
Yes.
Are you gonna bother looking it up? No.
How dare you? Future me? Nope.
I don't mean you in general. I mean
Oh,
people
yeah.
in general.
That's true. I am just crazy enough to like to have that in my have that in my calendar to look for.
That's true.
All right, so moving on to the next one here. I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. They were warned, but they just had to keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise. I can't take this noise anymore. And the light. Dear God, the universe is slowly unraveling around us. I'm not going to wait for death. I have a pistol in the attic. This is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers. However, we get this right after that. It may be worth noting that the last date on any of the messages is 1/27 July 6, 2027. That's the last bit of the story. So even without the the date that we were given, I'm pretty sure this prediction, this particular one was popped in or was put here in reaction to what a lot of people were fearing at the time, which was the CERN Large Hadron Collider, or the LHC, i.e., when they activated the particle accelerator and this massive like hadron collider. During one of the tests, it was kind of it was suggested or like feared by a lot of like conspiracy theorists that by smashing these particles together, the scientists were going to inadvertently screw up the local reality of Earth, or like bring something through from another dimension, or like create a black hole. Like those were actual legitimate scares online by conspiracy theorists when CERN announced the inaugural testing for the Large Hadron Collider back in like 20. I think it came out in 2010, or like, I think 2010 is when the original Hadron Collider was activated.
Is it Hadron or Hadron? I've always heard Hadron.
Tomato.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, but like that, whatever. Hadron Collider.
It's fine.
Yeah. So like, yeah, like that kind of stuff, like, because that's what it was doing. Like that's what they were kind of doing. The inaugural test was in 2008. So like right as like Fallout 3 was coming out, when like this story was roughly coming out, people were afraid of it. And then there was a second bigger test for it back in that came out in 2012. So, and again, seemingly without any devastating incidences. But then I read this one from the official CERN website. So this is an excerpt from an article from CERN's official website. The operation of CERN's accelerators is subject to scheduled shutdowns to allow important repair and upgrade work to take place. The present shutdown, LS2, is devoted to preparation for Run 3 of the LHC, which will have an integrated luminosity indicator proportional to the number of collisions, equal to the two previous runs combined. And for the high luminosity LHC, or the HLLHC, the successor of the LHC, which will begin operation at the end of Drum roll. 2027.
So they actually did some research.
Yeah. Well, I was like curious, like I was like when like I was like I wanted to at first I was like looking to see like when the Hadron Collider came out, like when the initial tests were done, and then I saw that there was an actual test for the bigger, better Hadron Collider that is going to start operation at the end of 2027, which could be July 2027.
Well, no, that's the last time anything had a message. So this message is potentially months after that.
But the other one isn't given a date, so I kind of like connected the dots, unfortunately, in my head for this.
Well, it's between it's as long as it's after July 6, 2027, then that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, so like, so it might happen still. So yeah, but what I got from that was like, I may have to keep an eye on the science news that late summer, early fall.
Mm-hmm.
See if maybe third time's a charm for the particle accelerator to screw up the Earth.
Yep.
And cause like a crazy noise and light that people are apparently committing suicide over.
Open a portal toward our imagination and let Man Bear Pig come through.
Yep. My God, what has man wrought? And yeah, so the predictions in general, honestly, yeah, none of these dates are coming true. As we've kind of
the ones came
picked
true
away.
that already came true in the past prior to the writing.
There was the one with like the assassination of Abraham Lincoln that was mentioned in the story, and it kind of like, but it's also, well, I said in quotes incorrect, but it's like basically it's putting doubt that John Wilkes Booth actually killed Abraham Lincoln, like so it sort of like threw people into, like, according to the story, it threw people into like, well, maybe John Wilkes Booth maybe it was all a cover up. John Wilkes Booth was the guy in the grassy knoll. To quote another presidential, or to cite another presidential assassination. Yeah, like again, the Queen didn't die. It's 2014. The YouTube video, I doubt happened. Though it would be interesting if somebody did do that. If somebody like in time for the story, like post it.
Do I have to go on YouTube and search for kicking bum in the nuts
with a football? Man hitting the groin. I was referencing The Simpsons. It's like man hitting the groin with a football. But yeah, maybe. Except that one also is kind of wrong because the date, the timestamp is wrong, unless like there's a secret 25th hour, like Mikey proposed.
That's true.
And then like again, like the particle accelerator one, which is I'm pretty sure that's what it was a reference to. I mean, that didn't happen. Like Earth is still like Earth and our current reality are still like unscathed, unscarred, as far as we know.
By the way, apparently, I found a video from 10 years ago.
Oh,
Fat
no.
American kicks bum in the nuts for $5.
Are you 10 years ago? What was the date?
Oh, I have to click on it.
Yes, you do. It has to be in your for science, man.
Fine. October 16th, 2012.
When did that one come out? 20 December 24th, 2012. Damn it.
Damn.
Little early.
Close though.
Oh wait. No, but the message is, have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself.
Sounds like it's been out for a while.
So we found it.
Yeah.
We got one. Oh my God. I wonder if that was like, obviously that wouldn't have been the reference because this story came out like years before that video, but we managed to find a coincidental video post.
Yep.
24. Oh my God, that's from 2012. My God. So we have so like 1 out of 4 ain't bad. And
like
again,
that one, yeah.
Yeah, well, again, like, I'm pretty sure the Britney one isn't going to work since, as Mikey has pointed out, the Oscars are coming out in March, not February.
Mm-hmm.
Were they ever in February, or did they just get postponed because of the pandemic stuff?
I don't know.
I'm curious about that. No, yeah, apparently the Academy Awards in 2020 were February. So when are the Oscars in 2023?
I'm assuming they were chosen to be February because it is generally in February.
Yeah. Also, yeah, the Academy Awards are March, like Mikey said, March 12th, 2023 at 8 p.m. So unlikely that that one's going to come true.
Unless that is a
different
recording
Oscars
of someone prophesizing that Britney is going to win it in the future.
in the future past.
Yeah.
Days of future past.
Because it doesn't say in the quote that I can't believe Britney actually won the Oscar on February 27th, 2023. So it could be like, I had a vision. Today is February 27th, 2023, and I had a vision that Britney is actually going to win the Oscar.
Wow.
In the future of whatever date that happens. So if Britney ever wins an Oscar, that's true.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, fine.
And yeah, again, like 2027, if that particle accelerator smashes some particles and creates the God particle once and for all, and rips open a rift to Cthulhu's realm. Yeah, we're all fucked.
Yep.
Also, I didn't realize the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico was like that old. Like around 2010 or 2008 or 2009 was when that happened. Because like that South Park episode with Cthulhu and the BP, like that's how old that was.
Apparently.
But I digress. Yeah. So basically, like this story like had me like checking things and like realizing things weren't right. You know what? So, but like the prediction stuff, like the idea of like a number station predicting the future or predicting terrible future events. It also this whole story and kind of like ritual reminded me of the movie The Knowing, where a kid in like the past, like in the 50s or whatever, puts a piece of paper that they were like fervently wrote down like count like tons of like numbers and like in sequences and stuff like that on, and they put that page into a time capsule, and then we fast forward in the movie to the modern day, and they and the main character like gets the piece of paper from the time capsule as they're like digging it out again, and they start correlating the numbers as like dates and times that terrible things are going to happen. And it all kind of it just goes down the line of like all these horrible things start happening more and more, faster and faster, to the end of the movie where like something big happens, but I'm not going to spoil it. So it kind of reminded me of that. I was just like, again, a number station or like something that is throwing out like seemingly random numbers, but then you decipher them and realize that there is actually a coded message of like predicting future events and such. Which I like that concept. I think it is cool, and I think the story tries its best to like sort of like convey that concept. But maybe the execution. Oh, again, hindsight is 2020. Like we are in the future of this story, so like a couple of these predictions have come to pass and not happened. So or not happened the way they were predicted.
If you view all these like you don't know if they've actually happened yet, you might have a different like feel of the story.
Because like this story, like I remember hearing about it and then I watched like a video for it and like got the full kind of extent of it. But like when I did some like look into the actual story itself, and a lot of there like at the time when this story first came out, like in the first few years of like Fallout 3 coming out and then this story coming out, this story was a prime example of like creepy video game urban legend or like creepypasta. Like this was on a couple of people's like top 10 like creepy video game urban legends lists back then. So it is interesting that like this did actually like at the time, because like the years hadn't the dates hadn't come to pass yet. It did kind of get people like speculating, which honestly that tends to happen when it comes to like strange numbers that predict the future or like seem to predict like events in the past or predict events yet to happen. So Yeah, I still think the story was a good attempt at the time. I think putting it in the mindset of like reading the story back before the years happened, I think it was a good event. But like now that they've come to pass, it's kind of showing its age. Like it is very much dated now because of like because of what has
because of the
happened.
dates.
Yeah, because of the date. Yeah, it is literally inadvertently, not even inadvertently, it is advertently dated itself. But yeah, I mean that tends to happen with even science fiction and stuff like that. Like again, the year is 2005. The Autobots fight the Decepticons. Like that was in the beginning of the Transformers movie back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Or like a handful of movies back in the 80s and 90s were like the year 2005, or the year 2007, or like, and it's like we have flying cars and like cool shit
Arcing
now.
lasers.
Yeah, arcing lasers and like, yeah, they were a little like outlandish with like how their predictions of the future would be. Some of them they got right, but like only through like vagaries. Like there were a couple of sci-fi stories from the beginning of the 21st of the 20th century, like by H.G. Wells or Jules Verne, who like predicted some things in our future, like in the year 2000, that we would have like wireless communication, or like we'd be flying to the moon, or and then like even to Mars. Like we are getting there, like, and we did get there. We got to the moon. We have like computers on our wrists now, basically, like with those Apple watches and like
That's only
tablets
if you, in regards to the moon, that's only if you don't believe that the moon landing was a hoax and all that.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure some people still do.
Yeah, and even like aside from like the first landing, like we've been to the moon after that, like multiple times.
Yes.
Like those weren't faked. The conjecture is that
have been faked.
yeah, they were all staged.
They're doing the long con on this one.
Yeah, because I mean, like I can see like why people would suspect the first moon landing, because like it was sort of a space race. Like who could get to the moon faster would dictate like who was technologically superior, like the Russians or the Americans.
Yeah, who won? Because I don't know why they had to make it a fucking race.
Well, no, they made a race because like again, it was a show of power, like who was better.
Yeah, but
it was during
childish.
Welcome to the Cold War, gamer.
Yeah, fair.
It was very dumb.
Yeah.
But I digress. Yeah, the story, like, it shows its age, it's dated, but you know, it's still got I got a bit of a nostalgic charm to it, so I still like it. But let's see how that changes when you guys start pointing things at it or poking holes at it. So, Mikey, the stands for evil.
Let me ask you this first.
Uh-oh.
If you remove the name Fallout from this and all the Fallout related references and stuff, and you take it at face value of what it is then, with different locations and whatever not connected to the video game, would that lessen the enjoyment of this for you?
No, because it would then just become a number station creepypasta, which I'd still be down for. I'm actually thinking of maybe like seeing if there are any creepypastas that have to do with number stations in the real world, for our show at some point. Because again, like I like that phenomenon. Like I'm a big fan of that kind of of like that unsolved mystery of this.
Yeah, you're not into this because it's Fallout. You're into this because it's number station and Fallout.
Yeah, like Fallout 3 was just like having it be in Fallout 3 was like that was right. I've heard of this creepypasta, and like it's a cool spooky thing from a game system game series I like. And then I got into it, it's like, oh, it's actually about number stations, which is something I also like separately. So I guess I was doomed to like this for the most part, like from the get-go. So but yeah, I am curious to see how, again, I am legitimately curious to see what your guys' opinion of the story is. Without that, I guess, like that interest or that extended interest into like the number station stuff.
My first actual thought here has the quotes. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life, and some hypothesize that they are a nuclear retaliation control network. And then in this These numbers are followed by widely varying lengths of Morse code. I'm like, what? They decoded a number station because it was using Morse code and basically time and date.
Yeah.
Like, that's not coded at all in today's, or even back then, because Morse code was widely known.
Yeah, but the message is also kind of a weird message, or like a cryptic message.
Yeah, but it's not coded, is what he's saying. Like,
It's
any number of people could figure this out easily. They didn't try very hard to code it, basically.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. All right, fair.
Like, compared to all the other number
Like-
stations out there,
Yeah.
where shit doesn't make sense at all, this is just like time, date, and what they said is Morse code done. Like, that's what he's
Okay.
getting at.
Yeah, so to me that makes this not really a number station per se.
Oh my God, you just have your you just have glass. You're just like, actually.
I heard you push your glasses up.
Yeah. All right. So my next actual thought here, I put some questions in. So, is it plausible that there's a number station within Fallout 3? Yes. It
Yeah.
very fits the theme.
Yeah.
Would a developer make a number station in their game? Also, yes.
Mhm.
It makes sense to have an Easter egg or something along those lines in the Fallout universe. Would it be easy to put a number station into a game that just dishes out random numbers? Yes. Yes, it would be.
Yep. Again, see, so far, this is correlating with my own like thoughts on this. It's like, again, see the mod I have. It gives me just like, and that's a pre-programmed thing. That's not even like randomly generated or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
And then the last thing up here, would it predict the future?
no.
Probably not.
Again, yeah. This story definitely falls into like there's something like it's like the number station is like spoopy, like it's supernatural, or there's some kind of like there's some otherworldly like hand behind, or voice, I guess, behind this the seeming Easter egg or like ritual pasta that you tap into, which again, you sort of have to take at face value because it is a creepypasta about a video game.
Yeah. So my next thing here is that I looked up, and Fallout 3 takes place in 2277.
Yep.
So any of these messages that are technically in game could be in the Fallout universe.
True. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yes and no. Because the Fallout universe, the timeline between us, our universe and their timeline diverges sometime like sometime after World War II, like sometime just after World War II, maybe. And like whereas we can continue down a certain path of pop culture and like and technology, they changed their like their world of technology, and like they're also their pop culture stagnated to something of like the 50s, rather than like the basic is like their in technology like went crazy with the use of like nuclear fusion and stuff like that, and like and super sciences, but they're culturally they stayed in like a 50s era. So like their YouTube, like they may not necessarily have had YouTube.
Well, but they still had BoobTube. So the
What?
YouTube could have been a channel on the BoobTube.
I suppose. They did
That's
still
a
have
fair point.
TV. They still had TVs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but someone posted a video to a TV station?
Yeah, that's
Have you watched my YouTube video yet? Or it's like it'd be like America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah,
He
I
sent
guess.
a-
I guess it could
He
have been
sent
that.
his video on VHS or whatever was the media at the time.
Holotapes in
Holotapes
Fallout 4.
into the boob tube station to be put on YouTube, the
Yeah.
TV station.
So YouTube is the America's Funniest Home Videos of the Fallout universe.
Yeah, because it's you on the tube. Doing silly stuff.
See,
That
like,
is the whole
okay,
point of the name YouTube in the first
yeah,
place.
like, honestly, like, I kind of there's a part of me that wishes this wasn't so much like a game ritual pasta, and it was actually like an in-setting, like, creepypasta. Like, it was in set, like, in lore sort of thing. Like,
If
I
this
think
one line about YouTube wasn't here, is what
no,
you're
no,
saying?
not even that. Like, no, I don't know. I wasn't referencing that. I mean, the whole thing, like, overall, like, it had me wanting to. I forgot to mention this in my notes, but Mikey's kind of brought it up a little bit here with the YouTube. Like, YouTube could exist in Fallout universe as like a America's Home Videos thing. I think I would have accepted this more as like, oh yeah, this could happen in the Fallout universe if this was in setting of the Fallout universe. Like, if this was a fan fiction. Yeah. Again, like, the queen has died today. I was like, oh man, like, what? Like, because that would have happened. Clear that could have happened in 2014 in the Fallout universe. I could see that happening because, like, there's a timeline split, so different things could have happened in either timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if this is where you're going with this, Mikey. Like, the message at the end was like those fools, like the blinding light and stuff like that, and the noise. That could have been the Great War in October of 2077, which was when the bombs dropped.
Mm-hmm.
That could be what that whole thing was like. He can't hear the noise, or he can't hear or he can't stand the noise, or can't stand the light. It could have been the bombs dropping and like the horrible noises and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was that where you were going at, and I just like steamrolled over you there?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Sorry. So sorry.
Yeah. So, my next actual thought is the quote, which is the final message of the story. It may be worth noting that the latest date on any of the messages is 127 July 6, 2027. To me, this wasn't worth mentioning because they didn't put the message with it.
Yeah, like, hence why I kind of like inadvertently connected it with the Hedron or the previous message, the undated message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if this was like set in universe, this would make no sense because, like, if that other that noise and light thing, like the guy like reporting like he's going to like shoot himself kind of thing because of the what man is wrought or what science is wrought. It's that one's undated, but like you could assume that was the bombs dropping in 2077, but the last date was 2027. That makes no sense.
Well, but again,
Unless
that one had no date, so it still makes sense.
It was after the last
guess,
one
yeah.
that was dated, because they're dated in order. So it's sometime in the last half of 2027.
Yeah, fair.
But
then, yeah, what was that?
I guess not.
No, it's fine. But then again, what was that message that, like, I think I'm kind of siding with Mikey here. It's like, what was that message for 2027?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's not important.
well, why even mention that there's one with that date if you're not going to tell us what the message was?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how many messages are we missing?
Yeah, like it's the story is surprisingly vague for all the specificities we get in
Specificities.
Specificities, yes. Probably still got that wrong, but fuck it.
It doesn't matter.
So that's the end of my afterthoughts.
Okay. I'm over here judging the correlations of the information you've just given me. Gamer, your
Yeah.
verdict, your actual thoughts.
Not much, honestly. So the whole concept of this, like basically of a game having a super hidden secret for years after release, isn't really as odd as you would think.
Yep.
It's like as I
Yeah.
went into this, I'm like, that seems a little far fetched. They would find it, but then I'm like, you know what? There have been some really obscure video game secrets that people have not found for years or even decades. Because
Even
like,
in
yeah, you can
Bethesda
look,
games.
yeah, like you can look through the code and all that, but even so,
Oh.
some shit's so hidden that you just don't find it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's one that I remember a few years ago. One of the Batman Arkham games. It has a hidden room, but the only way to enter it is to use the Batman explosive gel in the right places. Otherwise, the wall doesn't explode.
And those places are not marked, I assume.
Nope, they're not marked at all. And like I saw a video of somebody actually doing it, and he put down the explosive gel like multiple times, and eventually he got it.
Fuck. Yeah, that's
Damn.
annoying. Yeah, there's like so many things like that. Like for example, in Zelda Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
did you know that Outset Island is there? Like the starting island from Wind Waker is on the map.
What?
Yeah. The starting island of Wind Waker is in
I-
that map. I think it's in like the southwest or something, like way the fuck in the corner of the map. It's not exactly
It's
1-to-1
no, but
because it's
it's
a little in the future, but all the buildings and everything is identical. And the landscape and everything, it's pretty damn
oh
close.
my god, it is.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a really cool. Yeah, those Easter eggs. Like I used to watch YouTube videos of like top 10 the creepy Easter eggs in video games, and like usually Grand Theft Auto 5 would come up because there were
Why
so many
Grand Theft Auto 5?
because there were so many like creepy Easter eggs in Grand Theft Auto, like the ghost that appears at certain times of the night, or like not even the Sasquatch one's like the least of like the weird ones in that thing, like the alien stuff in that game, or like the
There's apparently one where if you put in a very specific phone number, you call some like black market phone company or something,
oh
and
no,
it enables the cell phone bomb in your phone that's been there the whole time and blows up.
nice. But yeah, there's also like urban legend. Oh, and there's even like fake ones, like ones that like people have like the rumor mill has like, oh, there's this Easter egg. If you go down to the sewers, you can find the Grand Theft Auto 5 sewer monster, and it's like supposed to be this horrible thing. It doesn't exist. Like
Yeah.
that, like there's nothing in the coding that says that there's a monster in the sewers. But like it was much like this story, it was a creepypasta or an urban legend or a rumor that somebody like mentioned on a forum, and it just kind of took wind,
Yeah.
and people speculated. Yeah, or like
Yeah.
sorry.
I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole at this point because I
Nice.
remembered a couple of like super secret ones. And I'm like,
Mhm.
which ones are like really nuts? There's one in Halo 3 where a dev hid a happy birthday message in the game for his wife.
Yeah.
If you set the Xbox's day to her birthday, which I think is also Christmas, and click and hold in both sticks while the game is loading, the loading screen changes to like a 3D representation of a wedding ring that says "Happy Birthday, Lauren" on it.
Oh my god.
I don't know how the hell someone found that, but someone did.
Also, nice that we inadvertently mentioned Halo. Like both of us like brought up Halo 3 in this talk.
Both of us talked about South Park repeatedly as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just a thing.
Sorry.
So sorry.
Remember. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and it was like, yeah, that is insane.
Mm-hmm. There's another one in Splinter Cell Chaos Theory where a dev got annoyed that no one found his secret, so he just leaked it online. Apparently, what you have to do is you go in co-op in that game, and you have to activate these vending machines in a very specific order, and it starts a fetch quest where you go about saving 5 talking seals from captivity. that are just like locked in little like cabinets throughout the level. Why someone wasted time programming that? I don't know, but why not?
Yeah, why not? Like, honestly, like again, like that's what I think. That's honestly another thing. Yeah, exactly. Like, I love weird, outlandish, and creepy Easter eggs in video games because they're real things that actually like do pop up occasionally. Like people was like, "Hey, I found this thing after 6 years of the game being out. Somebody found this one Easter egg that no one else knew about." Like you're bringing up, it's like I love that. Like I love that kind of like mystery hunting or like egg hunting, basically, that people do.
If you want top tier shit for that, Doom 2 level 15 has been impossible to get all the secrets on. For 24 years after the game's release, someone found out how to get the last secret. You have to pain elemental. You have to aggro a pain elemental and bring him halfway across the fucking level, like just kite him to a teleporter. You stand on the edge of the teleporter and you get him to shoot you. And when you get knocked back into the teleporter from his shot, it activates the last secret.
Oh my god!
Like how do you find that?
Jesus,
it's so specific.
It's like pixel bitching, but like to the nth degree.
Yeah. Like goddamn.
And then like dividing by 0. It's like what the fuck?
So long story short,
yeah,
the whole concept of this actually being hidden in the game is surprisingly plausible.
Yeah.
Because compared to most of that other stuff, this number station fits right in there or is even more plausible than some of these.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like sorry.
Go ahead.
And like we've kind of been complaining that like, oh, these events didn't happen the way they did or something like that. It's like, but now that like it's been put in the light from Mikey, oddly enough, that like this could be in world, like these Easter eggs, like that actually could be even like really cool. That to me, that find that cool. Like if this was an actual if this was supposed to be like an actual Easter egg that you could unlock, and then you're like finding secret dates in the timeline of Fallout.
Yeah,
like that is actually that would be a really if it was like portrayed in that manner rather than the way it is kind of portrayed in as a story as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd dig it even more for that.
That would be cool because, like, especially if they put stuff like way in the future, and then in a future game that is set in that time, they could follow up on that and connect the dots. Like that would be really sick.
Yeah.
But yeah. Note-wise, that's about all I got left.
So I guess with that, we'll move on to final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Fools, you have not dissuaded me from liking the story.
Wow.
Yeah. As far as the story goes, like. It's a pretty short classic creepypasta that deals with like video game, like it's a video game like Vigipasta. It's pretty readable. Like honestly, I was surprised at how readable it was. Even like the original one, like the captured image that somebody captured like, from the Fallout wiki, the Fallout Myths wiki. Like I assume that's like a capture of the original, if not the original posting, or like an image of like somebody who's posted and so on. And I was surprised how like little like we had 3 sentences.
Yeah.
and like
one actual grammar in yellow situation.
Which by our standards, I know that bar is like ground level.
Yeah.
But it's still like that is impressive how like this OG creepy like video game creepypasta was able to like surpass future other like I'd even dare say like creepypastas with better plots for like its grammar and stuff like that. So like readability wise, it's a pretty easy read. Yes, a lot of the content of it is kind of it's blatantly false. Like this is blatantly a piece of fiction because like none of these dates happened in our world anyway. I think from this discussion, I would love to see a rewrite of it where it is like supposedly an Easter egg. And these events are in the timeline of the Fallout universe.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Making it an Easter egg that's referring to real world.
Hell, I might even use this as the jumping off point for a Fallout 2D20 campaign.
There we go. We finally talked about it. Got this
Because
entire recording
there's the
almost. Talking about D&D.
there is the Fallout tabletop RPG that you and I think I could even use this as like a jumping off point for like you guys find a creepy radio station, and like you're able to you have to decipher a bunch of like Morse code and stuff like that, and like maybe some of them are more like some of the coded messages are like days away from happening. Or like even like some things that have happened in their own past, like if they're like members of the NCR or like some organization within the wasteland, like a common organization within the wasteland, like maybe it's like maybe there's speculation that like maybe this radio station's from the railroad, maybe it's from some other like AI that's like out there like from in a military bunker, like giving off random predictions like Pam. In Fallout 4, there's an AI robot that was pre-war and capable of predicting future events based on like algorithms and calculations. And like they're a character that you like get sent on missions to do stuff for from in the game. So it's like that's basically what this thing is doing. Like what if it's another version of the Pam AI? So yeah, 100%.
Players, you can have it so it's already predicted stuff that has happened in the past of each of the characters, so they all actually believe it.
Yeah, so kind of like blend in a little bit with like the movie The Knowing, where like because again, there's like one where it's like it's the numbers aren't just like the dates and times; it's also the amount of deaths that happen.
Oh damn.
So like it's like 340 or something like that, and like they go to the date and time, and then the guy's like, this is a common scene in the movie. It's in the trailers and like online stuff. When like Nicolas Cage's character is like, I think it's Nick Cage. It might be another character, an actor, but he's like in traffic and like there's like something going on at the behind, like ahead of them, and like maybe that's what's going on. And then he like asks like who died? It's like, oh, nobody's died. Just this is like a car problem. It's like, oh, it wasn't the location. It wasn't the time. But then he like checks his watch and it's like as the time's happening, and then the guard the police officer who like stopped him and like he talked to starts looking up into the sky and then starts like panicking and running, and he looks up and a plane is just coming down and crashes, killing
340 people.
Yeah, exactly, killing the amount of people that were in the numbers. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. Like you could have that kind of stuff happen you could have it like the characters are arriving on locations of the time of the timestamps and such to witness certain events, and they're trying to like find out where the source of this radio broadcast is and find out what's going on, while also maybe even trying to subvert what's going on.
A little bit of the Terminator sort of vibe.
Yeah. So kind of concluding with for this story, I'm still going to recommend it. Mostly if you're a big fan of like weird online conspiracy theories and like video game conspiracy theories specifically, like Easter egg. If you really dig like Easter eggs in video games, like the weird and nutty, like outlandish ones, and like the theories that people built, like the game theories that people like speculate on them, this will probably push your buttons. But I would also love to see a version of the story where it's the information that's being given to us, like foretold by us, is actually in lore rather than like in our world. Because like, I mean, that's kind of a tired trope too. Just like a game like affecting the real world. Like, what if it was just like, weird, creepy shit in the actual game world?
I don't think it's trying to say that the game itself is influencing the real world. It's just there's something.
But it's foretelling.
Predicting the real world.
Yeah, it's predicting is like it's like a subtler version of influencing the real world.
I mean, I guess only if you see the predictions beforehand and actively try to cause those or stop those from happening.
Yeah. But yeah, I recommend it. I think at the very least I'd like give it a high partial recommendation, but like I'm gonna stick with my full recommendation. Mikey, these days are evil.
So boils down to that this is a number station in a video game that's not actually a number station because it's easily decipherable.
Okay. Yes, the code. Well, there are actual number stations that do use Morse code. Like Morse code is a legitimate. It was a legitimate military code, and it depends on how old the broadcast has been repeating for. Maybe that it is using Morse code, and like, oh, that's so 1902 or 1935. But like, yeah, but that's probably because how long that broadcast has been going for online. So,
but if it was using Morse code in like a cipher of some kind, then that would add some more to it. Like, because this Morse code is just gibberish. But if I add the cipher to it, it translates it type thing. Like,
okay, yeah. I give it to you. Maybe like that could have been added into the story. Like it was in Morse code, but it seemed to be in a coded message. Like even the message itself seemed to be coded and jarbled until some of the community figured out what the cipher was.
Yeah,
and then we got like what the actual message meant.
Yeah,
on top. So it's like double encrypted, Morse code and a cipher.
Yeah, it's basically his whole thing is it's too easy to translate. Like it's one step away from it just being in Pig Latin.
Fair.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I'd be so much more happier if there actually was
a
number station in Fallout 3.
You know what? And there might be, but I just never realized it. If there is, somebody can point me because I'd like to know so I can go back onto Fallout 3 and start playing that game again. But like, as far as I knew, there wasn't. And like, I'm with you, Mikey. I do wish there was a number station because I love number stations, and like they are a really cool, creepy thing to add into your video game world. So like, especially for Fallout.
Yeah. But the fact that the line here says, if you're lucky enough to have hit upon the right set of circumstances, like, and you're not going to tell us what those are? Like, you listed all these things already, but...
Well, yeah, you have to kill 3 dog. There are some things they say, like you have to kill 3 dog.
But that's the thing. Like the whole thing with the story is they're saying they know a few steps, but the rest of the circumstances they don't know. So if you just happen to do those and then you do the steps that they do know, this is what happens. They just don't know what else you have to do.
Yeah, so it's just like, or maybe it's even like a luck thing. Like you have to like pray to the RNG gods that
you have to get there with just the 10mm pistol with only 12 rounds in it, and nothing.
Or maybe there's
or some shit like that.
Yeah, maybe there's even a time limit. Like after you kill 3 dog, you then have to destroy the Raven Rock facility before a certain time, or even on a certain, maybe even like during a certain time of day or night. Like there might even be like that kind of thing.
Time specifically, because there's a clock in the game, right?
Yeah, of course. There's clock. There's days. You know what? I never realized until I like been digging into the Fallout games. The Fallout 1 and 2 had fucking time limits. Like you had to beat the game by a certain amount of days, or your vault would be destroyed by super mutants.
Yeah, damn.
Like I didn't it's kind of like in Baldur's Gate, because in Baldur's Gate there's similar kind of the original Baldur's Gate game. There are similar like time limits to like certain quests and stuff that you have to do a certain amount. You have to do a quest at a certain amount time upon receiving the quest. Otherwise, you will lose companions because you didn't help them on their quests immediately.
They're going to say otherwise, Fraser will have to, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And otherwise, Shinji will have to get into the robot. Or Ray will have to get into the robot. But yeah, I think that would be like that's some of the steps. Like maybe it could be like again a time frame that you have to do it in, or like there's some kind of additional requisite that they leave kind of a nebulous, because maybe it is random, or maybe like they've not been able to pinpoint a solid like repeatable set of steps other than the kill 3 dog, don't do the boosted quest, and destroy Raven Rock.
Yeah. All right. So basically, creepypasta got my hopes up that there might be a number station in Fallout 3, but there isn't a number station in Fallout 3, so it just let me down. Because something like that would be cool, and sending someone on a wild goose chase, doing a couple of things like killing 3 dog, and not getting the number station is just annoying to me.
Gotcha.
Because as someone who's played Fallout 3, Three Dog is one of the main
Fun
reasons to play Fallout 3.
Because he's Three Dog. Ow! Coming to you live from Galaxy News Radio. Yeah. And then, if you kill him, then you get his secretary, or like his, not his secretary, his tech assistant, who's just like, doesn't like to talk as much and hates her new position.
She's like, the previous person who was here was just murdered, and now I have that job. Am I next?
Pilot the radio station. Otherwise, the corpse of Three Dog will have to. Also, I like from a studio point of view, I like this. Like, your action, you did an evil action. They have consequences. You now have this shitty DJ or who doesn't want to do this job.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. With that, I'm not recommending it.
Okay. Fair enough. Gamer.
For me, when I was reading it, it was going all right. Like explaining the mundane aspect of people finding secrets in games and all that. But the problem is, I kind of had a fallout with it.
A fallout.
Because like I would have preferred if it wasn't about seeing into the future of the real world. You know, if it did what Mikey said and stayed in lore, in the Fallout canon and everything, it would be so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's prophesizing these things in our real world, that it's not going to get right, because how would it?
Unless it is actually magic or weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but the story I'm reading is not going to actually predict real things that actually happen.
Yeah.
So because of that, there's a disconnect, and there's no immersion anymore, or even it's not even like third person immersion of me being immersed into a world that I know isn't real of Fallout. It's taking a something not real and trying to prophesize things into the real world, which are also not going to be real because you can't possibly predict the future like that. So it's twice removed. I kind of wish it just stayed focused as being a number station in the world of Fallout.
Fair. Yeah. I think another thing to remember is like this story is basically a historical document. Like it is, like I said, it's dated. And I think it had a lot more power, maybe in terms of like for its readers, in the younger days of 2008 or 2010 even, when like the dates hadn't happened yet, and also the internet, like the viewership on the internet, like the people who were making creepypastas back then were in their teens and in their like tweens. So like this kind of thing that you'd find online, there was a lot more like I guess juvenility or even like naivete on like that this stuff couldn't happen. So there's a little bit more magic to it back then than there is now, because we've all grown up. We've all realized that shit isn't real, and it's just a piece of fiction. But also, most of the dates have happened, and they didn't happen the way they did, or the way they predicted. So,
regardless, it being connected to Fallout means absolutely nothing.
No, it's basically just like it's a game. It was supposed to be like a gaming Easter egg because the game had a radio, a radio mechanic. That's why they used it for this.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with Fallout, so it might as well just be a creepypasta about a real life number station.
True.
And it would have more like credence to it in that aspect.
Yeah.
But overall, there's really not a lot here, to be honest. It's like, there's some light mentions of a number station accurately prophesizing events that happened in the future from the game's release. However, it's all set up by talking at length about the mundane aspect of all this, and like making it feel like it's something that a dev programmed in and not something actually supernatural, unless the dev himself was actually able to see the future and no one would believe him. So he just programmed it into the game. So his message is out there if you can find it.
Exactly. Like so, it's like Nostradamus. Nostradamus was a madman, supposedly, or a prophet, depending on how you saw it, who wrote down a bunch of predictions back in the like ancient in the medieval era, or in the sometime in the past in France. and we still read his manuscripts and his prophecies, and like there's whole conspiracy theories about Nostradamus and his predictions. Like some of them, because the way you decipher the predictions, they could have foretold 9/11. And like and other like bombers in World War II with like these hog-nosed like soldiers in steel birds, like stuff like that. I hear what you're saying in the story. Like obviously, like honestly, like I get why you guys aren't recommending this. I'm just, to me, it doesn't ruin it for me. I think like the way it kind of does for you guys.
Well, like you said before, you're doomed to like this regardless because you like Fallout, you like number stations. Put two together, of course you're gonna like it. But
yeah, and I'm also seeing this as like, again, a piece of like I admit, yeah, I have like even said like it's I don't believe, like I obviously like this is like, yeah, it's all dated. It didn't like none of the stuff happened, so it was like it's all fiction. It's like, but yeah, it's a piece of historical fiction for creepypastas, because I see it more from like how people reacted to it back when it first came out. And without, I think honestly, without this kind of thing, like we wouldn't have some other like weird creepypastas about like video game creepypasta stuff, or like strange predictions. And like you point out, like, yeah, like somebody like how could some random like dev like put this into their, like you were talking about how like the mundanity of the game, of like how they're going to detail about how this is in the game, and like how did a dev do this kind of thing, unless they were supernatural. It's like maybe that was it. Maybe that was like that they were a Nostradamus type person who like got like signals, and then they just started putting the they weren't going to tell the studio about it, but they secretly put in Easter eggs because this was their medium. This was how they were going to get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like the movie The Knowing, where like because I think like the girl is like possessed to write these numbers, and then her teacher like takes the message that she was writing and puts it into the time capsule, because she was supposed to write a message and put it into the time capsule. So, but yeah, again, like I'm also not trying to dissuade you.
Yep, but
Sorry.
it's fine. All in all, for me, there wasn't really any creepy value to it. It wasn't in world, even though it's literally named in world. Like it's Fallout 3 something something. So I feel like it would have been something. Basically, my expectations weren't met because I expected it to be in world, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you expected it to be in lore, and it was just they chose Fallout 3 because it probably was the writer's favorite game at the time, and they decided to write this thing. Yeah.
Yep. But again, because we're reading this after some of the dates, we see that some of these didn't come true, which kind of pulls a lot of the mystery away, unfortunately. If I read this at the time of release, sure, I would like it more, but at the end of the day, I would still prefer it being in world. Fair. So if this was in world and these are just alternate events that happened in the alternate universe of Fallout, great, that's fine. But it's not. So, as it is, I'm not going to recommend it. But with the spin of it being all in world, I would actually at least partially recommend it. Probably a high partial, like akin to you there. Okay. That's just the big thing that really ground my gears, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. So, I guess that's one recommendation, and then two non-recommendations with a potential partial recommendation if it was all in lore.
Yeah.
If it was lore friendly to the Fallout universe.
Yes.
And seriously, like if somebody does know that there's actually some official like number stations in the Fallout games, I'd like to know, because I have not found them yet. I had to use mods. So, but that will do it for this week's episode. So, if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, please comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer and Yell is at the Gamer and Yell, but without that W at the end, because his name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. If you'd like to send us emails, you can also go to, you can send them to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTS@gmail.com. We can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, urban legends on video games, spooky things, you creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support that. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into a number station, broadcasting it on repeat across the airwaves. And wherever you are, anonymous writer of Fallout 3 number stations, without this, whether or not you like this story or you don't, thank you for writing this and posting it online, because it inspired this discussion and this mystery that got people talking. So that's honestly what I love about it. I think that's honestly what I like so much about it is it's a subject of discussion and like a mystery to be discussed, whether you believe it or not, or whether you dig it or not.
I mean, you say that, but I literally only had one note of this entire story.
Yeah, but you were also
to say.
But you were also you're also like discussing it like during our other during me and Mikey's stuff. So ergo, it was a discussion. But thank you regardless. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.